Thousands gather in Paris and across France to say no to anti-Semitism. The protests follow a series of anti-Jewish attacks that have shocked the country. He's running. U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders is officially in the race for president, hoping to become the Democratic Party's nominee for the 2020 election. And a possible end in sight to the crisis in Hodeida. The UN says warring parties could begin to withdraw from the city as soon as Wednesday. Thank you for joining us on France 24. I'm Wasim Cornet. Thousands of people converged on Paris's Place de la République Tuesday evening in a demonstration against anti-Semitism. The gathering was organized following a series of anti-Semitic incidents in recent weeks, most recently the desecration of a Jewish cemetery near the city of Strasbourg. Also in the crowd in Paris, a united front across the political spectrum. Prime Minister Édouard Philippe, party leaders, as well as former presidents took part in gatherings across the country. Yuka Royer has more.
Thousands packed the Place de la République in Paris, a symbol of French values. Many braving the cold to say enough to anti-Semitic acts. Government officials as well as political leaders from across the party spectrum joined the crowd. Among them former presidents François Hollande and Nicolas Sarkozy.
I think that French people share the same indignation and the same willingness to be united in the face of a problem which poisoned our nation in the past and which keeps coming back regularly.
It's natural to be here given the current situation in our country.
Other political leaders included the head of the conservative Les Républicains party, Laurent Wauquiez, as well as former socialist presidential hopeful Benoît Hamon. In the southern city of Marseille, the far-left firebrand Jean-Luc Mélenchon also spoke out against the rise in anti-Semitism, but warned against linking it to the Yellow Vest movement.
We must not use those incidents for political gain. If we do all this just to insult the Yellow Vests, I disagree.
One notable absence from nationwide protest, Marine Le Pen. The far-right leader chose to pay tribute to Ilan Halimi, a young Jewish man tortured to death in 2006, with a visit to his grave outside the French capital.
U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders is running for president again. He made the announcement on Tuesday saying he was launching a bid for the Democratic nomination in next year's presidential election. It's Sanders' second time running for president. In 2016, he was considered a fringe candidate, but ended up becoming Hillary Clinton's most challenging opponent.
I'm Bernie Sanders. I'm running for president.
He's in for 2020. After months of speculation, Bernie Sanders has thrown his hat into the already crowded presidential ring, posting an official campaign video online and asking people to sign up to his movement. The 77-year-old senator from Vermont says he's not only running to oppose Donald Trump, whom he called the most dangerous president in U.S. history, but to bring radical changes to America.
Our campaign is about transforming our country and creating a government based on the principles of economic, social, racial, and environmental justice.
Like Trump, the independent senator was a political outsider when he joined the 2016 Democratic presidential primaries, with many dismissing him as a fringe candidate. But he defied expectations with some major upsets, winning 23 primaries and caucuses against much better-funded Hillary Clinton. He galvanized a broad coalition with his anti-Wall Street rhetoric and talk of a political revolution. His campaign generated tension between the establishment and liberal wings within the Democratic Party.
The only way we create the change that we need is through a political revolution.
Sanders says he will push for many of the same progressive ideas he championed in 2016, including universal healthcare, free college tuition and a $15 minimum wage. But he acknowledges he will have to run a very different campaign this time, as he faces other liberal progressives already in the race, like Senator Elizabeth Warren.
The Venezuelan army is staying put. In a statement, the country's defense minister said the armed forces reiterated their loyalty to President Nicolas Maduro and would remain deployed and on alert along the borders. The renewed show of support comes a day after U.S. President Donald Trump called on the military to abandon Maduro, telling soldiers they had, quote, everything to lose if they continued to back the embattled president. Opposition leader Juan Guaido has previously offered amnesty to military commanders who abandoned the leader. The United Nations envoy to Yemen says there could be progress in the crisis in Hodeidah very soon. Martin Griffiths told Security Council members warring parties could withdraw from the city as early as Wednesday as part of an agreement signed last month. Maud Julien has the details.
There is reason to hope, according to Martin Griffiths, the UN Special Envoy to Yemen. He told Security Council members the first phase of an agreement signed in Stockholm last month was about to be implemented.
Despite deadlines being missed, the parties have constantly shown their commitment to implement the agreement and have consistently assured me of that commitment. I'm under no illusion about the challenges that we face, but perhaps for one day at least, we can be heartened rather than dismayed.
The government and the Houthi movement agreed to redeploy their troops away from the ports of Salif, Ras Isa and Hodeidah. Doing this would facilitate access to the Red Sea mills, where the World Food Programme has stocked enough wheat to feed nearly 4 million people for more than 5 months. Yemen is currently considered to be the world's worst humanitarian crisis.
About 80% of the population, 24 million people, need humanitarian assistance and protection. Some 20 million people need help securing food, including nearly 10 million who are just a step away from famine. Nearly 240,000 of those people are right now facing catastrophic levels of hunger.
The UN said the two sides had also agreed in principle on Phase 2, which entails the redeployment of forces in the whole Hodeidah province. A new round of discussions is set to take place next week.
Finally, the world of fashion is mourning the death of an icon. Karl Lagerfeld, who led French fashion house Chanel for nearly 4 decades, passed away in Paris on Tuesday at the age of 85. In a statement, Chanel said Lagerfeld was, quote, an extraordinary creative individual, a prolific creative mind with endless imagination. Aaron Ogunkeye has a roundup of the reactions following Lagerfeld's death.
Tributes pour in for haute couture creator and fashion icon Karl Lagerfeld. The German designer passed away on Tuesday at 85 years old. It didn't take long for his fans to gather in front of Chanel's workshop and boutiques in Paris to pay their respects to the man and his work.
Karl Lagerfeld, he was sort of the messiah of fashion. He was like the big boss, the one who dictated everything.
It's hard to accept that he left us and Chanel so suddenly. It's like Chanel is collapsing, like the brand won't be able to recover.
The news sent a ripple of shock through London, where Winter Fashion Week is coming to a close.
I think someone like Karl Lagerfeld he has such an image about him, you don't really ever know how old he is. You sort of thought he just wasn't human. You thought he was just ageless. So the idea that he is mortal is shocking, yeah, it's really shocking.
For those who work in the fashion industry, Karl Lagerfeld was not only an icon in France, but all over the world.
He was famous in all the world, everywhere you go, because his work was fantastic. He did a fantastic job for Chanel. But also he has physique. Everybody can recognize him with the look.
Numerous fashion icons and celebrities, including Donatella Versace, Victoria Beckham, and actress Diane Kruger, paid tribute to Lagerfeld via their social media accounts.
I will never forget your kindness towards me, your laughs, your imagination. I came to France to see you this week and introduce you to my daughter. I'm heartbroken. I was too late. Rest in peace. I adore you.
The deputy artistic director of Chanel has been named as Karl Lagerfeld's successor.
That does it for this edition. We thank you very much for watching. More news on France 24 just seconds away.